5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Weekend confirmed.
Ignition. Liftoff. Liftoff.
Hey there, Weekend Confirmers. It's Jeff Cannata with 2 N's and 1 T, and your question of the week. Today's question, sent in on the Twitters from @SisterInfant, which of course means that Sister Infant, now the time has come for me to be motoring through your question. See what I did there? All right, his question is, Blizzard released numbers on how few people see the end-of-game content in World of Warcraft. Do we ever see MMOs moving away from end-of-game to focus, from an end-of-game focus in their expansions? I think that has already happened. I think they've already moved away from end-of-game focus in their expansions. If you look at the actual expansions that they've sold, what has been the big selling point in the last few? A revamp of the current world was big around the Cataclysm patch, and new starting classes, new starting races. All of that reinvigorates the low-level stuff. Even with the new Pandera expansion, it's going to be a new starting race, new starting class, new low-level areas. Yes, they still have to feed the beast of the end-game stuff because that is the core of their audience. That's the most hardcore, the most stalwart supporters of the brand, and so of course you need to keep supporting those players. But I would argue that it's not really a surprise to anybody that the end-of-game stuff is a tiny minority of the total player population. I think you'd probably find that to be the case with a lot of games that don't require such a huge time investment. Obviously, WoW does, in order to get to end game, require a huge time commitment. But even smaller games, I would predict that if you looked at the numbers of how many people finish even 8-10-hour single-player games, Uncharted even, a game that is all about the story, and I would say that Uncharted 3 is far better in its second half than its first half, I would wonder how many people even ever see that great stuff that's in the second half. And then you look at something as large and engrossing as Skyrim, and how much content is there that a vast majority of the playing population will never see. I happen to think that it scares me when developers put too much emphasis on this data, because I get worried that we'll start to see less attention paid to that deeper amount of content. But because I love that it's there. I love that the second half of a game crescendos and is exciting and is better than the beginning. I don't need that stuff to be front-loaded. I love the fact that there's an end game in WoW that is robust and deep and is a whole new game. And I think that, especially in the MMO space, you need that treadmill. You need that perpetual motion machine at the end of the game in order to make going through the game feel worthwhile. It's not so much the case in single-player games, but I certainly appreciate games like Skyrim, The Witcher, games that have lengthy, deep campaigns, single-player campaigns, lots of content that most people will never see. I like being able to explore a world, explore a game system, and find things that maybe other people don't. So I'm hoping that this data, which really, to my mind, isn't a huge surprise, doesn't change the industry, but I think it already has. We've already seen a little bit of that happening, a slow a tidal change rather than a big one. So thanks for the question, Sister Infant.
Does it tonight?